I'm Ryan Newman, and since I started with Indiana Donor Network and Driven to Save Lives, I found out that some people think that they can't be an organ donor. The truth is, anyone can sign up to be an organ donor.
Anyone?
Anyone?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Anyone can sign up to be an organ donor. So don't count yourself out because somebody's counting on you. Go to driventosavelives.org and sign up today.
But my heart's going to you, Ryan.
Love that shirt.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another night of iRacing action here on the National Racing Network, where tonight it will be the stars and cars of the iRacing Silver Crown Cup, coming to you from the newly rebranded Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway, located in Bakersfield, California. Derek Thorne holding the track record here at a 17.5-second lap. These guys tonight are going to be under that by a pretty substantial margin. My name is Chris Graham. Thank you all so much for coming to hang out with us here on a Monday night. Just returning, literally within the last hour from the Rolex 24 at Daytona, making the hustle to get this show on the air for you guys. Hopefully y'all are going to hang out with us tonight and enjoy the show. Light up the comments. Flying solo in the booth tonight. Super chat, super thanks, all those kinds of stuff are down there if you are so inclined. We do appreciate those. They help keep the Silver Crowns and the Sprint Cars on the air, as these are entirely community-funded shows. One visit here for these cars in the past, and that one was taken by Mitch Drevnovsky, 2023 Season 4, in the debut season for Kern Raceway on the iRacing platform. Taking a win by less than a second over Tracy Petter. Josh Batista coming home a second back in third. It was a tight field, and we are expecting a whole lot more of the same as they are getting out onto the racetrack for their qualification session. Let's take a look and see who we want to pick up. Let's take a look. We'll find River Hayes, as Brandon Buckberger goes to the top of the speed charts. Now Derek Love going to slot into second position on the board. Buckberger at the top, 16.554. 16.514, the lap timer record, the second lap for Buckberger, but it's going to be D-Love going quick time, 16.504, big fast lap there. Jeffrey Stanton out on the racetrack. Let's pick up the number 94 Napa Auto Parts machine as he comes around to complete lap number 2, and he looks like he will be in second position. James Watson finishing up his qualification run, putting it third on the board. Let's take a look at the number 20, the Red Ream Rocket of Josh Batista, making his way out onto the racing surface. He will come around to see the green flag this time by and start qualification lap number 1. Batista, lap 1 goes quick time, 16.474. What can he do on lap number 2? Oh, buddy, hold on to it. Big slide over the line. The lap time will not improve, but how about how tight this field is? Less than a tenth separating the top 4 as qualifications have finished. My slack-off partner in the broadcast booth here, Mr. Bizzle, is checking it. Well, okay, see... God, I hate when it gives you the wrong graphics. Let's get the right graphics up here. Now it's going to show us the right graphic. Bizzle, who should be working tonight, is saying, race cars. Watching live from Cape Coral, Florida. Yeah, he flies back to the absolutely terrible state of Ohio tomorrow, so no Bizzle on the show with me here tonight. Field is out on the grid. It's They're getting lined up, and we can check in and give you tonight's starting lineup. Starting, well, see, this is why I gotta get home early. See, this is what happens when you go to Daytona for the weekend. Once I see the paint schemes up, boy, there we go. Now we can show you the starting grid. Starting on the pole tonight in car number 8, the number 20, the Red Ream Rocket of Josh Batista, lap time of 16.474, 29 thousandths of a second back. The Street Side Classics number 1 of Derek Love. Stout front row here tonight. Row number 2 will have Brandon Buckberger. In the Deeds Farms number 4, trying to add to that Driven to Save Lives donation total. He will do that with a podium finish here this evening. To his outside, in the number 39, will be the Team Watson Racing Setups National Racing Network, number 39 of Mr. James Watson. Row number 3 on the grid, the Diet Pepsi, kind of Jeff Gordon-esque throwback a little bit of Connor Hughes out of Indiana. Lining up to his outside will be the Spotify number 11 of Joe Gauthier. River Hayes in the McConey Setup Shop, number 81, inside of row 4, alongside of the Me Find, number 9 of Zach Evans out of North Carolina. Jeffrey Stanton, the Napa Auto Parts, Rockwell, North Carolina, number 94, alongside of Brent Edwards in car number 10, back there on row number 5. Row 6 tonight will have the Dizzy V Designs, Team Watson Racing Setups, number 98 of Vic Aldrich, and to his outside, the number 3, Team Watson Racing Setups, entry of Thomas Lewandowski. Row 7, Brian Elmore alongside of the number 13 of Steve Costley. Row number 8 on the grid tonight, Scott Schroeder in the Team Watson Racing Setups, Boomer Button Boxes, number 15, alongside of the Apple Computer, number 16 of Goin' Win. Final row of the grid tonight will be the TNT Racing, number 14 of South Carolina's Todd Taylor. 17 cars making up the grid for tonight's 90-lap feature race. Field making their way through turns 3 and 4. Green flag goes in the air. We are underway here at Kern. Show it to you from the overhead. Josh Batista gets the early jump. Buckberger looking inside 11 to 3. Seeing some blinking there out of the 17 of Connor Hughes. Drivers talking like they were hoping to see some pretty high track temperatures tonight, and that is exactly what they've gotten. 88 degree ambient, and 99 degree track temperature. It's hot out here this evening in California. As Buckberger finally able to clear D Love. Top 6 or 7 cars going to be single filed out, but my goodness, what a hornet's nest here towards the back. Thomas Lewandowski trying to make his way forward, but he's stuck back here in the 12th position. Bizzle is saying he'll be on tomorrow for bottom split shenanigans. No, that's on Wednesday. Tomorrow night is Sprint Car Cup action for right here at Kern. That is going to be a fantastic race. Our buddy Sidon checking in as well, saying happy ream noises. Jeffrey Stanton just coming around. Joe Gauthier now going to work on River Hayes. A little bit further back, Vic Aldrich and Brett Edwards doing battle. Last time these cars were here, Larry Pace carried the number 1 entering the race and had an absolutely terrible night, finishing 2 laps down behind the field in 16th and last position. He took a pass in the iRating department that night. Brian Elmore with a huge save off at turn number 4 that time. But now 2 distinct packs have formed up here. The top 7 have broken away by about 2 seconds from the rest of the field, as we see Lewandowski going to work inside of Edwards in that fight for position number 9. At the front of the field, it's pretty calm at this point. Josh Batista holding about a 4/10 of a second, almost half-second gap now over Brandon Buckberger. Derek Love, another 3/10s back in third, 2/10s back to James Watson in fourth, then another half-second back to Jeffrey Stanton in the 5th position. So we'll kind of sit here and hold on the battles that have been a little bit better anyway, deeper in the field, although these guys seem to have settled themselves down a little bit as well. With the lap times that they're running at the front, they will be catching lap traffic pretty darn quickly here. We mentioned the strength of field at a 31.08. Decent strength of field tonight. And so even the guys that are towards the bottom of that list are going to be, should be fairly, pretty decent drivers. Connor Hughes with the lowest iRating in the field at an 816. Everybody else 1500 or higher. In fact, everybody else, with the exception of Go and Win, up over the 2300 mark. So a solid strength of field here tonight throughout. And it has been all Josh Batista at the front. Slide back a little bit here. James Watson, Jeffrey Stanton, a couple of car lengths apart as they get down into turn number 3 this time. Championship standings entering tonight's race. Thomas Lewandowski sitting on 1325. James Watson at 1137. It sounds like a big gap, but Lewandowski is going to have to get up towards the front of the field, or this could be a night that Watson could make up some points, as we are right about getting to the drop weeks. This will be the final week where all 8 races that these drivers have completed will count towards the championship standings. From here on out, your worst finish of the season, your worst week of the season, gets dropped. Lewandowski has a very strong lead as we see Stanton make a strong move on Watson into turn number 1 that time. But if Watson's able to pick up some ground here on some of these races, that'll be a big thing for him. However, he's going to need some wins. Thomas Lewandowski in 15 starts, 8 wins, 14 top 5 finishes, to Watson's 12 starts, only 2 wins and 10 top 5s entering this race here tonight. Just up ahead, Derek Love working his way around Brandon Buckberger, putting the Street Side Classics machine up into position number 2. That one happening while I was taking a look at the point standings. We'll show it to you here on the NRN replay. Buckberger apologizing for contact 1 week ago while the drivers were having their pre-race discussions here. Love able to cleanly complete that pass off at turn number 4. Going back to the live look, these guys are, quite frankly, I will say barely behaving themselves. Back in the pack, Scott Schroeder coming around Steve Costley for the 14th position. Todd Taylor, Brett Edwards, and Zach Evans battling 11th, 12th, and 13th. Also going to have the 7 of Brian Elmore right up there in that fight as well. Let's take a look here. There we go. Let's see. Todd Taylor making the look on Brian Elmore. Look at that pass completed. We'll see if Zach Evans can follow through here down into turns 1 and 2. Multiple different lines these drivers have been able to run. And we are already at the 1/3 distance here. 31 laps are on the scoreboard. 30 of 90 complete. James Watson having to hold off River Hayes. River does not run a ton of these Silver Crown races anymore, but when he does, that car is always fast. Ron Sovereign is checking in the comments here. Just joining and happy Ream noises. Yeah, the Ream team is not quite to the point of starting to lose your minds yet. Oh, baby. That was tight in the middle of 1 and 2. Watson just absolutely slams the door. One car bouncing it off the outside wall. That's Connor Hughes. The lead for Josh Batista right now is up to almost 9/10 of a second. He is one of the guys that does not want to see a caution flag come out here. Moving a little bit further up, Brandon Buckberger is under attack by Jeffrey Stanton for the final position on the podium. A little bit deep. Well, let's see. River Hayes able to get around James Watson. Oh, Jeffrey Stanton able to clear Brandon Buckberger there into turn number 1 that time. Seems like Buckberger's car is starting to go away a little bit. I mean, ever so slightly. Looks like a little bit of a push at the exit of turn number 4. Much cleaner exit that time at turn 2 as Stanton scrapes the wall. Kick the dust up a little bit outside. So now Stanton starting to chase down Derek Love. But that gap's sitting right about 1 second. Let's scoot back here to this fight. That's Zach Evans, Brian Elmore, and Brett Edwards. As it stands right now, this is really the only battle on the racetrack right now. Our French nemesis, Jacques Debris. That may be a caution that we want to see here at some point. As everybody has kind of hit where they need to be in terms of outright pace. Do have a couple of hard chargers making their way forward tonight. Todd Taylor up 7 positions. He is currently running in the 10th position, putting that car up inside the top 10. Also up 6, Jeffrey Stanton. Thomas Lewandowski up 5. He's now up into the 7th position. River Hayes and Vic Aldrich up a couple of spots apiece. This fight has settled down, so now, well, quite frankly, you guys need to light up the comments here, because this is what we got. We'll give you a little bit of through the field. Josh Batista, your race leader. He has led every lap since the drop of the green flag. That gap now about 1.1 seconds over the second place running Derek Love. D-Love in that Street Side Classics machine, very clean through 1 and 2. Not making up a ton of ground just yet, but I would tend to think we're just past the halfway point. Maybe a little bit of tire conservation going on here from some of these guys. Jeffrey Stanton running in the 3rd position. He was one of the hard chargers we just mentioned. Sitting, 1.3 seconds back, 1.4 seconds back of Love for the 2nd position, as we may have just seen 4th place Brandon Buckberger get up into the outside wall exiting turn 2. We talked about him having a little bit of a push on corner exit. That rapidly turns into snap oversteer, which is the absolute worst thing to try to correct and catch. River Hayes running back in position at number 5. About 5 seconds back of the leader. 2.5 back of Buckberger for the 4th position. Another 1.3 seconds back is James Watson in the number 39. As the lap car is Steve Costley running just back behind him. Thomas Lewandowski. The charge has stalled ever so slightly. Started 12th, now runs in the 7th position. And let's see, let's find the 2 cars that are closest together right now. That's Brett Edwards and Brian Elmore. Elmore has just gone a lap down to race leader Josh Batista. This gap is 0.8 of a second. It's more than a second separating every car from 1st back through the 9th position. Batista, that red ream rocket. Absolutely putting on a clinic here tonight. Lap traffic behaving as well. No real fight being put up by anyone. Just coming around. 12th place running Brett Edwards. And they're only about 2 seconds or so away from lapping 11th place Zach Evans. There you see Evans kind of in turn 4 now as they're entering the corner. Lap number 55 goes up on the scoreboard, and it will be 36 laps remaining here at Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway, in an event that thus far has only taken 15.5 minutes to complete. Sign on checking in saying, so far it's a red January because the red ream rocket is in orbit. Well, the good kind of going to orbit. He is just absolutely flying out there. Let's see. We do have one battle starting to tighten up here ever so slightly. It's going to be Vic Aldrich and Todd Taylor in the battle for 9th. There's Taylor in the 14. Aldrich just up ahead in the white number 98. And things are starting to close at the front. Derek Love has cut the gap down to 0.8 of a second. It starts to expand back out. Yeah, it's sitting right around 7/8 right now. Derek Love has told us in the past he really makes a concerted effort to save as much tire as possible early in the races, and sometimes he feels like it bites him because he doesn't have the time to come back. and fight back in that to gain the track position back. But now if he can start to shrink the gap ever so slightly as they get closer to Taylor, Aldrich, and Evans here, these guys are fighting and quite frankly should be fighting for position. It is not a freebie to come, if you're the race leader. The next car they come past will be go and win in the Apple computer machine. No hesitation there, but the next 3 cars ahead are all battling for position and running their own race. Zach Evans clears out a little bit high through 3 and 4. Ooh, a little bit twitchy loose that time for Batista at the midpoint of the corner. Not too much of a holdup that time for Derek Love trying to get past the lap car of Zach Evans. And it's going to be down to 2, maybe 3 car lengths off of turn number 4. Man, Batista shows a ton of power. They're down the front straightaway. Wondering if it's a little bit of a gearing thing here for these guys too. Vic Aldrich absolutely not sacrificing the line. Nice move by Batista on corner exit, but now Aldrich going to clear out of the way. Sometimes it's easier to lap cars as the second guy in line than it is the leader, because sometimes the lap car just doesn't necessarily, you're fighting your own battle, and you're not necessarily paying attention to the relative or whatever. You miss the leader coming up on you. Well, here we're just seeing that now. Batista slides way wide through 1 and 2. D-Love had the door open, but it closes just as quickly on corner exit. And now as they're coming up to a very nice lap 69, it's going to be a car length and a half, call it 2 car lengths, the midpoint of the corner. And have the tires gone away on Josh Batista's machine? Love going to try the pass down to the inside of turns 1 and 2. Oh, side-by-side battle for the lead now to 3. And Batista scrapes the wall and Love comes through. Put Derek Love to the top of the board. Batista led the first 69 laps. A nice run, but D-Love takes the lead and starts to open up the gap. Yes, and I thoroughly agree with this comment from Sidon. When and where you catch the lappers will really swing a race one way or another, especially on a short oval like this. If the lappers don't cooperate or just decide to run their own race, it's your job to get around them cleanly. And if that means an outside pass, it could take you 3 or 4 laps. Now all of a sudden you're burning up your tires trying to pass a lap car, and the guy who was tire saving gets to catch you and just makes the easy pass. River Hayes has come around Brandon Buckberger for the 4th position. Thomas Lewandowski has come around James Watson to pick up 6th. All that happening while we're watching this fight for the race lead. And right now it is still the best battle on the racetrack. So Derek Lowe sitting about 0.6 of a second up. River Hayes is closing in ever so slightly on Jeffrey Stanton for the 4th position, but it's about a 3.5 second gap with 12 laps remaining. It's going to take a lot for Hayes to make up that gap, try to sneak onto the podium. Wondering if the changing weather conditions have had any effect as well. Track temperature now up to 104 degrees. Going to make things greasy out there and quite frankly, a little bit difficult to control, especially as the tail tanks get light on these cars. Never really built to run the short track, or the super short tracks. Now down to 8 laps to go. The gap sitting at half a second for Derek Love over Josh Batista. Man, Batista way squirrely off of turn 2 that time. If it wasn't for Jeffrey Stanton struggling so much back here in the 3rd position, Batista may have had a challenge there for P2. River Hayes still sitting about 3.2 seconds back. Down to 5 laps to go, and it is all the street side classics machine of Derek Love up front. Gary DeMoss is checking in the comments. Gary was one of the other, knuckleheads with me down in Daytona. We wear you out, old man? I heard a yawn. No, you're hearing sneezes and stuff. I am, feel like I have caught a Daytona flu or something here starting to come on. Thomas Lewandowski catching up here very quickly on Brandon Buckberger. He's trying to get that car inside the top 5. But now with 2 to go, it is going to be all about Derek Love at the front of the field, holding a 1 second advantage, this time by the stripe. White flag is out, and there is 1 lap to go, a very quick lap. Off at turn number 4, checkered flag goes in the air, and Derek Love picks up the win at Kern County. Josh Batista comes home 2nd, Jeffrey Stanton able to hold on for 3rd. River Hayes and Brandon Buckberger will complete your top 5 here this evening. Sign on checking in saying, guess that racing bug is a bit more literal. You would think for how pickled my liver is at the moment, that should not be a thing, but apparently it is. But race is over. Let's take a look here and give you the final finishing order for tonight's race here at Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway. 1 through 10 tonight, Derek Love, Josh Batista, and Jeffrey Stanton up on the podium. River Hayes and Brandon Buckberger complete the top 5. 6 through 10, Thomas Lewandowski, James Watson, Joe Gauthier, Todd Taylor, and Vic Aldrich. Both of those last 2 cars finishing 1 lap behind the race leaders. Second page of the leaderboard will have Brett Edwards, Zach Evans, Brian Elmore, Go and Win and Steve Costley back through the 15th position. Scott Schroeder and Connor Hughes going out of this race in the very early stages. So let's get ready for the Victory Lane interviews here tonight. We will kick things off with our race winner, Mr. Derek Love. And, man, I'll tell you what, Derek, the car looked good in the early stages, but were you doing an absolute ton of tire saving? Because it seemed like Josh ran away from things, and you just had so much more speed late in the run.
Man, it feels good to be back up here, Chris. I got to say that first. Man, we're spending more time in the infield care center than we are up here, so it's never ending well this season. But, man, when we win, we win. We brought out a good car. Got a shout out to the girls and the babies back at the shop. I mean, they really put one together for me here. Kind of explaining to your question a little bit there, I was kind of fighting the car the whole mid race there. It fired off pretty good. Eventually just kind of, let Brandon go a little bit. And just wanted to kind of feel the car out. I always trust the long run on it. But the big thing, it was loose in. So I ended up just having to dial the brake bias. Not something you usually do with this car. So I was wondering if other people were having that issue or not, but it helped solve that for me. And that's once I got it finally dialed in. We just started clicking them off, got in a rhythm, and ended up at the right place at the right time.
Is this one of those places that you can use the tools as well, the cross weight and all that you have to work with? I know it's more used on kind of the 1.5 mile type tracks, but is that something that's beneficial here as well?
Yeah, and yes and no, because I ran almost most of that race actually without touching the weight jacker, and traditionally I usually move at -1 about every 10 laps or so, kind of good rule of thumb, but we were midway through the race and I haven't even really messed with it. I went down with it, didn't really like it, went up, and not something you really ever do with it. And it worked okay. I think it actually helped me save a little bit of tire mid-run there, so that's maybe part of that. And then I started really cranking it down and just said, I'm just going to have to hold on to this thing, and we got to see if we can find some time to run Josh down. And that's what we did, and man, we're happy to be up here.
Then obviously the last question for you is, how much did lap traffic help in that battle? Because it seemed like the more Josh was encountering cars, you were able to make up some ground, kind of because they were battling for their own position, their own race ahead of him.
Yeah, it's double-edged. Karma gets you there. So I don't ever wish for any sort of trouble with him, but I want to be there if the opportunity presents itself. Because many times I've been on the bad side of that, and you don't ever want to end up there. So. It definitely helped, though. I noticed the gap closed up, and that kind of put me into contention, and just starting to put the car underneath him, and just had to put the pressure on him and see when we could take our move. And he was a little slow off one of them. I got the car on the inside, and I'd been loving that inside line. You just got to really back it up, and it's really easy to slide through it and wash up the track. But if you nail it, you can hook that around the apron there and get a good drive off. And that's, I think, what put us in victory lane tonight.
Well, congratulations on it. A fantastic drive in third win in 9 starts this season overall. That's not all not all broadcasts, but congratulations on it. Big move there for you tonight, Derek. And before we let you go, do all those sponsor plugs and shout outs you want to get in here.
Yeah, thanks to you guys for hosting this, and always love to watch them. Yeah, shout out to the babes at the shop and the Streetside Classics machine. We'll be back. See you again.
I think we may be talking tomorrow night as we come back here to Kern County, if you put on the same kind of show you did here. Derek, thank you very much. We appreciate you. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off there, buddy. Derek Love, our race winner tonight, second place
you
on
got
the night.
Elephant. I got space. Send me smoke signals. You got weed?
It's Josh Batista, our second place finisher here tonight. Man, I'll tell you what, you led a very nice 69 laps here tonight. And was it just a case of the right rear cooking off that thing? Because it looked like you had a handful late in this race.
Yeah, a mix of that and a mix of, heavy right foot off the corner, not really saving tire the whole race, to be honest. Just kind of just trying to find the limit and just stay there. And that did not work out good at the end for sure.
Well, I tell you what, the car was an absolute rocket ship, though, in the early part of the race. how do you tell yourself that, like, hey, I have to slow down a little bit here? Because it seemed like the car was really good and just you didn't have to push it a ton.
As long as I kept hitting that like first steam and all the way around the track in the corner, the thing would just hook and it just stay turning perfectly through the corner. And every time I'd miss it, it'd be bad, and it definitely just killed the tire. And getting in those battles with the lap traffic, like they're battling, so you can't do much. You just got to kind of wait, and that kind of let Derek get up here, and we had a quick battle. And yeah, he did it. Yeah, he saved a way better tire than I did for sure.
Well, I tell you what, still a great drive tonight, leading a ton of laps. Congratulations on another podium finish here, Josh. And before we let you go, do all those sponsor plugs and shout-outs, man.
Yeah, I got to thank you guys, as always, for putting on the broadcast. Jeffrey for both the setup and the paint, as always, and Reem. And, yeah, thanks to everybody else who's watching out there. Appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you much. We appreciate you coming to hang out with us here for a couple of quick moments in the booth. And now we'll bring up our third-place finisher tonight, Mr. Jeffrey Stanton. And, Jeffrey, we didn't show the car much at all. It kind of seemed like it was, well, I guess on outright pace, it was a third-place car that you brought home in third.
Yeah, I thought I had more pace earlier on. It fell off real bad. Like I was starting to having it hooked towards the outside wall on the straightaway 5-10 laps to go, and it made it tough.
Yeah, and you were the hard charger of the night, gaining 5 positions. How difficult was that early in the race? Because it seemed like if there was a time you were going to make it, it was going to be more at the end, and you did a lot of this work early on.
Yeah, it was tough, but I mean it wasn't too bad. I mean, I love running through traffic anyway, so
yeah,
through traffic cars, that's fun for me. So
yeah, I was going to say that's the fun part. You don't want to hot lap this thing in a race session. You want to race people, and you got to do some of that tonight. Congratulations on another podium here. Well, wait, hold on a second. I'm seeing 2 different things from my timing and scoring monitors here. Congratulations on the third place finish tonight here, Jeffrey. And before we let you go, do all the sponsor plugs and shout outs you want to get in here.
Yep, want to thank Napa Rockwell, y'all for broadcasting, everyone else that supports me, everyone else supports the series, and everyone else.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you much. We appreciate you coming up into the booth here to hang out with us for a minute. And now it is time for us to go back to the live look here and show you the scenic vistas of Kern County Raceway. A race that took 32 minutes and 56 seconds to complete. It was a quick one. I'm hoping we see the same thing tomorrow night here out of the iRacing Sprint Car Cup. That show is going to be pretty darn spectacular. These sprints are going to absolutely rip around this place. That will come up at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow night. Wednesday night will be, me driving a bottom split racing action here, sort of. We're going to kick things off with the Daredevil series. That is a Lotus 79 series that I am doing some league driving in. That will kick off at 8 p.m., and then we'll follow it up with some bottom split road course stuff for jumpy trucks or whatever we want to do there. On Thursday night, the USF Pro Championships head across the pond to take on the Silverstone circuit over in England, one of the legendary circuits of the world. Looking forward to seeing the Indy Pro PM18s heading over there for that one. Should be a pretty darn good show. But with that, it's time for me to get the heck on out of here. Thank you very much to Gary DeMoss and Patrick Byrne for an absolutely incredible weekend of the Rolex 23 hours, 58 minutes, and 25 seconds of Daytona. It was just as confusing to those of us sitting in the grandstands. Also got to thank everybody who's tuning in here and helping get these shows on the air. We really appreciate it, and we love y'all. For Bizzle and everybody else here at the National Racing Network that helps me get these shows on the air, my name is Chris Graham. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with us, and we will talk to you all soon. Have a great night, everybody.